Okay. One second. Yeah. 1 minute. Welcome to our viewers on YouTube and Torah Anytime. We are in Shabbos Mevtes Amud Aleph. So before the Mishnah Termin B'Shlochim, we still have a small debt from last year, and that is regarding the Nesoiros Shel Charoshin, right? We spoke about Nesoiros Shel Charoshim, sawdust, and we spoke about No'el Shel Pishtan Daka because the topic is Atmono, and we know that Atmono is not allowed in Moisif Hevel, or even in Erev Shabbos. And the Mishnah said the Nesoiros Shel Charoshim and No'el Shel Pishtan Daka. Nesoiros Shel Charoshim is sawdust, and you, according to Tanakama, you are allowed to be matmin your pot in the sawdust of wood, and the oiris shel pishtan daka is similar to sawdust, but that's the same kind of version, but by pishtan, the small pieces of pishtan of flax that fall off the flax. And by the way, the gilsa of some of the Rishonim is not daka. In Tanakama, if you go back to the Mishnah, some they say in general, you're allowed to be matmin in all these nesoiris. It's not mosif evel, either from wood or from pishtan, from flax, it's all fine. That's Tanakama. Now, Yehuda said, oiser bedaka. That's all. So that already makes it simpler. Yehuda says, with the daka one, the one that's very small, and again, I haven't seen much in the Mefarshim, but I understand the daka, obviously, if the pieces are small, they really envelop the pot much better, right? Big pieces, you kind of lose touch from the center, from the pot. But the small ones are also. Now, the Gemara, I'm reading again the Gemara, B'Nesel Shel Charoshin, a few lines above the Mishnah, towards the bottom of the page. Ibailu, Rabbi Yehuda, when Rabbi Yehuda came and was machmir, and he forbade the daka, regarding what did he say that? Where do you pin the words of Rabbi Yehuda to? Did he say B'Nesel Shel Charoshin Kai, or Anel Shel Pishtan Kai? Did he refer to the one of the Charoshim? Did he mean the sawdust, or did he mean the small pieces of the little pitzkalach of the pishtan of the flax, toshma? So there's a brisa. The Tanya, it says in the brisa, Rabbi Yehuda Omer in the oil shel pishtan daka areika zevel. Oh, that's the name of the game. Basically, according to Rabbi Yehuda, only when it comes to pishtan, which is nice and fluffy, right, and softer, right. If it's both soft and small, opposed to wood, it's not so soft, right. But then it's daka. That's like zevel. Zevel meaning that it's mosif hevel. Zevel is mentioned in the first Mishnah as Zevel is don't try it at home. Zevel means what the cow makes, yeah, in the field. So I don't know who would put his pot in that, but I guess with circumstances force you to do that, but you're not allowed to do it anyways because it's Mosif Hevel. Says Rabbi Yehuda, the one of the Pishtan Daka, that's a Zevel, that is Mosif Hevel. Shma mina, anel shel Pishtan kai shma mina. So now we know that the problem of Rabbi Yehuda, when Rabbi Yehuda argued and was machmir, was only regarding the Shel Pishtan Daka. But the sawdust, the small pieces of wood, there Rabbi Yehuda has no problem with that, and either Daka, Kol Shekin Gasa, is absolutely okay, just like Tanakama. Yeah, and I assume Aloch is like Tanakama because I don't think Rabbi Yehuda against everybody else. Aloch is like Rabbi Yehuda, what I remember. Next Mishnah. Now, again, this entire parak is intertwined, and this is a good example of Muktzah and Hatmona. Because before we start the Mishnah, this is the box. Look at the beautiful piece of art over here. Yeah, shall I say it in a museum? What do you say? Yeah, museum. So basically, a museum of Talmudic art. So this is the box. They used to have a kupa, the box. Inside the box, they would have the pot, right? And if it's allowed, they would be matmin, the little blue pitzkaloch over here. Imagine yourself much more condensed. It's all pieces of whatever you're allowed to be matmin. For example, what we just said, let's say neoiris, nesoiris, yeah, these things, right? You're allowed to be matmin the pot. The red one in the middle is the pot. That's the pot of cholent. Pot. Yeah. You're allowed to have the pot in the middle, not always allowed, sometimes, yeah. If it's not Mosif Hevel and it's Erev Shabbos, you have a box. Inside the box is full of whatever, and inside the whatever Eino Mosif Hevel, you have the Kdeira in the middle. Yeah. Enjoy your cholent. That is the way it used to be. Now, that obviously begs the question of, before we even begin, if those pieces are meant for that, let's say you're a nice, organized American guy, and what do you have? Every Shabbos you use the same things, the same Eina Mosif Hevel for the pot, then it's meant for the pot. Is it muktzeh? Of course it's not muktzeh. I use it all the time. But let's say you have something that's expensive or something that is not usually used for the pot. It's meant to be used for something else, right? And then this may be muktzeh. So even if you don't have the issue of hatmana, if it's surrounded by small pieces of something that is okay hatmana-wise, but is not okay muktzeh-wise, then you have a very big question. How do you access the pot if it's surrounded by muktzeh, right? That is an issue which we're going to deal with today. So let's see what the Mishnah has to say. Says the Heilige Mishnah, Be'ezras Hashem, this shiur is Le'ilun Nishmas Ovi Moiri Menachem Ben Akiva. Says the Mishnah, Toimin the Shlochin. Shlochin are hides. You know, it's hides. Hides are skin, pieces of leather. Yeah. Toimin the Shlochin, a person has pieces of leather, yeah, hides in his house, is allowed to be matmin the pot in Shlochin. Yeah, he can be matmin with the leather. Umetaltilin oison, meaning, first of all, mitzad etmono, it's enomos ifevel. So as long as you do it on Friday, good. And also metaltilin oison, regardless to hatmono, just in general, shlochim, if you have pieces of leather, right, you're allowed to be metaltil them on Shabbos. What can you do with a piece of leather? Of course I can. You know what I can do with them? Chazi lemizga alayu, as we saw in the previous dapim, you can lie down on them. Take a piece of leather, like a couch, you know, under your head, like a pillow, yeah, like a mattress. Take the piece of leather and lie down on it because it's useful for that. It's not muktzeh. Soon we're going to see what the chiddush is. Now, the second story is more difficult. Begizei tzemer ve'en metaltel in oison. You're allowed to, again, matmin your pot in gizei tzemer, in pieces of wool, pieces of raw wool, but ve'en metaltel in oison. Mitzad muktzeh, you have an issue. Why? Pieces of wool, you can't use them as they are now. What are they meant for? They're meant to, obviously, they have greater and brighter future. The tzemer eventually will make it to the factory and will become your next suit, right? Or a dress or a tzitzis, right? So the tzemer obviously is destined to be something bigger and nicer, and you are muktzeh for that, right? You muktzeh in your mind to use it for that. Even according to Reb Shimon. Yeah, it's not your own shtick. That's its own use. It's not, yeah, remember, Rabbi Yehuda and Reb Shimon argue when something is useful right now, and I, with my own mishigas, decided to use it for only in a year's time, in a week's time. But Gizet Tzemer is globally known. Nobody else uses Gizet Tzemer as they are now. Of course, you can find usage, but the 90% of Gizet Tzemer go as raw material to become threads and then fabrics. That's by everyone. So that's muktzeh. If it's muktzeh, you can't move it, but you're allowed to be metaltel. You're allowed to be matmin. So how do you do? If these are gizet tzemer, and Allah tells me you're allowed to surround your pot with gizet tzemer, but the gizet tzemer are muktzeh, how will I access the pot? Wi-Fi? Yeah, how do I do that? Yeah, answers the Mishnah. So what do? You take away the cover of the pot. You take away the cover of the pot, and then they fall to the side. How can you take it? So the Meforshim say that not the entire thing is covered. Must be that some of the pot is accessible. Oh, I would allow myself to say that the handle is sticking out, or the Tiferes Solis. So he said a little bit is open. You find a place where it's exposed, and then you can pick it up, and then they fall to the sides, and then you have access to the pot. Yeah, in other words, all the ones from the top are falling aside because you picked up the lid, right? And then now you have the pot accessible, and you can try and schlep it from, take the sides of the pot, take a good glove, take the pot from the inside and take it out. Now, what's the chiddush? The chiddush is that the top of the pot, the lid, is not bossis. Oh, that's a whole chain of big yesod in bossis, because one could say, excuse me, this is a bossis for all those very important pieces of wool. So how can I take the lid? The lid is a bossis for all the pieces of wool that were on top of it, and they're muktzeh. And that is a big yesod in muktzeh, in bossis. Bossis means that the bossis serves what's on top of it. Here it's the other way around. The top is serving the bossis, so it's not bossis, which means the reason why I have all these things over here on top to keep what's inside warm. Yeah, they are coming to envelop and keep warm what? The lid and the pot, its friend, not the other way around. And that's not called bossis. Bossis is when I have basis for what's on top. Yeah, you have a leichter in Shabbos, you have candlesticks. The thing in the bottom is serving them to stabilize them, to make them nice, whatever. A table is a bossis or something, not the other way around. And therefore, in such a case, it's not a bossis. So you can pick up the lid if you find a corner, an exposed spot. take it out, and then you have access to the pot. Oh, that's ad kana kofa aleph. Here comes another question. Tachlis, how do you take out the food? I told you, maybe you can just gently take out the pot, right? Okay, and finish. Oh, that's not so simple. That's a machlokes tanoi. What do you do next if you want to access the food? He says, Kupa mate al tzida venoitel. Why? Shemayitol v'neochel achzir. Says Rabbi Elazar ben Azariah. It's a big machlokes Rishonim, by the way, what he means to say. I'll tell you first of all the general concept. Says Rabbi Elazar ben Azariah, you're not allowed to take out the pot. You want to take the pot just like this? Boom. What's going to happen when you just lift the entire pot? All these gizim are going to collapse inside. Going to implode. Boom. Inside. That we don't want. Why not? What's the problem? Because next time you want to put it back, right? You want to put it back. Now, putting it back has two issues. Number one, you're going to move the muktzah to both sides, or you're doing a tmana again. It's Shabbos. Maybe there's still warm food inside. You serve the challah quickly, warm food. Let's keep it warm in Shabbos. So either because of muktzah or because of this, you're not allowed to do it. And everyone agrees you're not allowed to do it, to recreate the hole in the middle. Rabbi Elazar ben Azariah says, "Mate kupa al tzida." Take the whole kupa and tilt it to the side. I don't know how, to be honest with you. Technically, I never got that right, but it doesn't really matter. You have to somehow maneuver the kupa, the whole box, to make sure that the hole stays in its place. You have to be very gentle, yeah, to somehow be very, delicate and make sure that the hole remains somehow, yeah. Take out the pot, make sure it doesn't actually collapse back in. According to another pshat, which is the Rambam, I saw today in the Mishnah, I think it's the Rambam who says, you pasha don't take out the pot. Kupa matal tzida means you move it a little bit and you just take out the food. Straight from the pot to the table. But don't take out the pot. Take the food out of the pot. Allah mishaneh, whatever the reason is, Rabbi Elazar ben Azariah is concerned, don't take out the pot the normal way. Don't allow, the sides to implode, because then we're concerned maybe later you'll recreate the hole for second atmana, and that's a problem with both muktzeh and atmana. But, very nice. He's saying you won't be covered in the top. Very nice. And therefore, you have a lot of Rishonim who say that the atmana is also, even if it's part of it, not the whole thing, as I told you. That could be a very good raya. Very nice. And a chanami. That could be the machlokes Rishonim here. True. Very, very nice. Nachon. A lot of people say that atmana, even from the sides without the top, is already atmana, for sure. I mean, that's definitely a very accepted opinion. The Chachamim oimrim, the Chachamim oimrim notilo machzir. Chachamim say, don't sweat over it. You can take out the pot and bring back the pot, which means Chachamim agree that you're not allowed to recreate the hole, right? But they're saying we're not concerned it's going to happen. You can take it out. We're not concerned it's going to collapse, or even if it collapses, we're not concerned you'll do it. You'll be aware enough not to do the Avera. Exactly why they're not choishesh, we're going to see in the Gemara, not today, right? Chachamim say we're not concerned. We're not goizer not to take out the pot. Take out the pot normal, do whatever you want. If it falls back in, nish geferlech, we're sure everything will work out right afterwards. Meaning they also agree that if it did collapse back in, you're not allowed to move the muktzah and recreate the tmona. But they're just not concerned now that it's going to happen in the future. But they're not goizer, to be so nervous, like not let it implode. Even if it's going to happen, you will be fine. Why? We'll see later. So that's if you're concerned about muktzah, that's for sure okay. If you're concerned about rihatmana, it could be a problem, right? Chachamim say that for whichever reason they're not concerned about that. We'll see why in the Gemara. Okay, now true. I hear what you're saying. Right. Says the Gemara. Yosef. Now this Gemara is going to deal with what? With the shlochin. Shlochin meaning the hides, the leather, pieces of leather. And the issue is, we said here in the Mishnah, you're allowed to be matmin in shlochim, and they are not muktzeh. Yosef Rabbi Yonasan ben Achinoi, Rabbi Yonasan ben Elazar. There are two Amoraim called Rabbi Yonasan, the Yosef of Chanina bar Chama Gabayu, and Rabbi Chanina bar Chama was sitting next to them. One Rabbi Yonasan asked the other Rabbi Yonasan the following question regarding our Mishnah: what kind of shlochim are not muktzeh? The Mishnah said shlochim are not muktzeh. Shlochim shel bayis nan, aval shel uman kemen the kapi delayu lo metaltilin alu. Which means, imagine yourself a house that has a few pieces of shlochim in it. Normally, shlochim are used for what? Used to lie down on, or for, I don't know, whatever. There's some shlochim in the house. Now, if you're regular balabais, meaning it's for home use, right? Then it's not muktzeh because clearly you can lie down on them and you can sometimes put them around your pot. And even if they get dirty, Nishkefelach will clean it. And maybe the Mishnah said it's not muktzeh because it's for regular home use. Ooh, bachel uman. I don't mean uman Rosh Hashanah. Uman as if it's a person who's a commercial, he's a seller of shlochim, he's a shlochim dealer. Ooh, and it's meant for commercial use. Of course, what he's going to do? No, it's kapidalayu. He's very particular that he should keep clean. That's his parnasa, right? If somebody has a store in his house, right, in the room, you won't allow the kids to start playing around with all this choira, right? Because it's meant to be bought. He wants to keep it nice and clean and fresh. That's parnasa. So maybe when the Mishnah said, maybe it's a question, when the Mishnah said that shlochim are not muktzeh, they meant the one that are regular for home use, but the one that are for the uman are muktzeh. Or maybe shel uman tanan bekoshigan shel baal bais, or maybe not. Maybe the shlochim shel uman even then is not so makpid, even though it's meant for sale, is not so particular, and even those shlochim are not muktzeh, although they may get dirty. Okay, he'll clean them, not the end of the world. We're still okay with it. And koshikan shel baal bais, which is definitely more lenient, laissez-faire. Of course, that's okay to use them. They're not muktzeh. In other words, the question is shlochim of an uman, yeah, of a guy who sells it in his house or sells it somewhere, yeah, is he also not makpid and it's not muktzeh? Or maybe he's makpid and it's muktzeh, it's meant for sale, it's a schoiro. Or Reb Chanina Bar Chama was sitting on the side listening to their conversation, and he replied, he interfered, and he answered, Kacham Rabbi Shmuel bar Yossi. Rabbi Shmuel bar Yossi said the following, Abba shlacha hava, my own father Rabbi Yossi was a shlacha. Rabbi Yossi's profession, what was he? He was a merchant of lacha, of leather. He was a leather merchant. The Omar Haviu Shlochin in Shevalen. Look, and he used to tell us all the time and again. He always told us, bring the shlochim during the week. Rashi says during the weekday, bring the shlochim and we'll sit on them. So even though it was meant for schoyer, we see that a person who is what, a leather merchant, still not makpid. He's taking his father as an example. Tosfos argues, we'll only understand Tosfos' proof later, but Tosfos says no. Pirashach, look at Tosfos, please. Pirashach, ve'omar havi l'shlochin b'Shabbos. Which means, the point is, we saw the concept of Ma'aser Rav in Daf Chaf Aleph Amud Aleph, and we'll see it again. What's Ma'aser Rav? When one of the Tanoim behaves according to his own, practically, he practices what he preaches. What does that show? Allah is like him. So says Zerach that really Rabbi Yossi was not just during the week. On Shabbos, he told them that they can use the shlochim for sitting on them, and mimela also for using them for the pot. And he's paskening here that shlochim shel uman, meaning himself is an uman, can be used for whatever you want. And that shows Allah is like him. That's why he's proving his point. Look, you're asking Rabbi Yonasan, I have a proof from Ma'aser Rav. That's not an opinion that the opinion person actually holds of it la'aloch l'maisa. However, we have a question now from a brisa. What does the brisa say? A similar case to oiros, shlochim are nisorin. Nisorin, similar to nisoros. Nisorin are planks of wood. Yeah, pieces of wood. Nisorin shel baal habais. This has nothing to do with the tmona, by the way, only with muktzeh. Nisorin shel baal habais metaltelin oison, v'shel uman and metaltelin oison. Oh, in nisorin, you have planks of wood, pieces of wood. If they're for home use, regular balabais, you can carry them around. And we're not going to say the balabais is makpid to use them for something else. No, balabais, even if he does, it's very normal for balabais to use pieces of wood. Yeah, even if he keeps them for a certain purpose, he also uses them for everyday purpose, like a tray, like a wedge, no problem. But uman and metaltelin oison. Oh, you see the planks of wood, the nisorin of a carpenter, he keeps that for his workshop. And now they're in his house. Don't carry them on Shabbos. They're muktzeh. Why? They're meant for carpentry. They're meant for the business. Oh, here's your proof. So you see clearly the one of the uman you're not allowed to use, right? And you just told me otherwise. Right? You, Rabbi Yossi, told me b'shem Rabbi Yossi with the leather you are allowed to use it, and it is not muktzeh. You see that another piece of craftsmanship of business You're not allowed to use. Only v'im chishev litas alen pas le'oichin, then ben kach uben kach metaltalin. Oh, that's important to add. The Brisa adds on that if you, the Balabais, the Uman, had in mind, I'm going to take those planks on Friday, he decided. I'll use those planks as trays to serve my guests some bread, then of course you're allowed to be metaltal. And by the way, the Rishonim in the Mishnah I saw, they say even with the Gizei Tzemer, the only muktzeh, if your general idea is to use them to make fabric out of them, to weave them, right? And then all of a sudden use them for the pot. That's muktzeh. But if you in your mind decided those pieces of tzemer clearly are for the kitchen use, for what? For atmana, no problem. Because in your mind you can always turn a muktzeh into a non-muktzeh. But the question remains. The question here is, why are you telling me, Shem Rabbi Yossi, that the oros, a person is not makpid, even if he's an uman, even if he's commercial, and here you see by the nesorim that he is makpid. What's the difference? Answers the Gemara. Shiny nesorim the kapid alayu. Nesorim are different. The wood is different because the person is more particular about it, more than leather. Why? Says Rashi, very short and sweet. Rashi, Shema Yiskalkelu. Maybe it will go bad, which means we've seen many times in the Gemara, I can see today too, if you are a carpenter and you have very straight and smooth piece of wood and your kids start playing around with it and serve food with it, it's very likely it's going to get a little bit bent. Yeah, Mashenkin by Oiris, it doesn't. By Oiris, the only concern is dirt. And I guess dirt, you're going to clean it, rub it, you'll be okay. But in Nesarim, there are two problems. They may get dirty, and also Makpid, maybe they will actually get what? Completely bent. Mikul Kal. They'll really be miscalculated, they'll be out of use. And because by the Nesarim, you're more Makpid, don't project from Nesarim to Oiros. Nesarim, the Uman is Makpid. The leather, the Uman is not Makpid, and we're all in peace and harmony. Toshma, here comes the Brisa also to challenge that, says the Brisa, Oiros, ben avudin uben shen avudin. Oh, me'ubad, what's me'ubad with an ayin? You know, me'ubad is processed, finished. The oiros, whether they were processed ben she'en avudim or they're not processed, yeah, processed mean what? The leather is nice, supple, it's been smooth, been cured, and now it's ready to use. And b'she'en avudin means that the leather is still relatively raw, rough, and is not ready to use. Mutar letaltal and b'Shabbos. You're allowed to carry the oros always on Shabbos. Why? Because you can sleep on them, right? Whichever stage of the or of the leather, you can carry them on Shabbos because you can always put them under your, as a pillow, sleep on them, no problem. Loy omru avudin, ela linyan tuma bilvad. The only difference between avudin and not avudin is regarding tuma, which means if the leather is not yet finished, that's number one rule in every kli in tuma. Yeah, I think we had it around after Zvom. If the kli is not yet finished, it's not mekabel tuma. So when the leather is not yet me'ubad properly, it's not the finished product. It's not mekabel tuma. Only when it's me'ubad, nice, ready. Oh, I've reached my goal. I have a nice piece of leather. Then it's mekabel tuma. That's always the rule, right? Wait a second. So we did not differentiate regarding metaltalin, regarding muktzah. Many times, by the way, the Gemara compares a lot on Shabbos between tuma and muktzah, because regarding what's called the kli, what's not called the kli, it's a very good example. Yeah. So the leather, when it comes to muktzah, not muktzah at all. Do whatever you want. By tuma, depends. It's not mekabel tuma at the beginning. When it's me'ubad, then it receives tuma, susceptible to tuma. But wait a second. We never differentiated in the me'ubad, the nice good one. We did not differentiate between balabais or uman. My love. Let's see how the Gemara is pinpointing the question. Loish nashal balabais, veloish nashal uman. Big question mark. The Brisa did not even hint to differentiate. So either those nice, good, ready to sell pieces of leather are shabal bais or uman. Still, it's okay to carry them. Oi, that's mamish. That's mamish shtoch. That's against Rabbi Yossi, right? You see that even if those pieces of leather are me'ubad, we say, carry them, do whatever you want, no problem, muksa whatsoever. Sometimes the rabbi tells you, yeah, no problem, no shiloh. Really? Even an uman, right? So what do we see? Very good. Loish nashal uman. So that seems to be actually good with Rabbi Yossi of before, right? And what do we see now? You're allowed to carry them. Yeah. So far for Rabbi Yossi, it's okay. But is that really a proof? Do we now have a proof that really the that Oros Shal Uman is a brisa telling me that they're not muktzeh. That would actually be good with Rabbi Yosef before, but is that what the brisa is telling me? Says the Gemara, no. Loi Shal Balabais. I could tell you otherwise. Maybe only the leather of the Balabais you can carry whichever way you want, even if it's ready. Aval Shal Uman, but the Uman, no. If it's made if it's something kept by a seller, by a merchant of the leather, no. Them you can't touch when they're me'ubad, when they're ready. No, the uman, maybe not like Rabbi Yossi, maybe the ready one, nice one of an uman, you're not allowed to carry on Shabbos because he's very particular to keep it in the corner. Now the Gemara is asking, there's a question, the Gemara always does. Aval shel uman mai, ein metaltalin? You just want to tell me the one of the uman you're not allowed to carry? Ihochi, if you differentiate with Balabais and an uman, look what happens to the end of the brisa. If so, had the Tani, when it says at the end of the brisa, the brisa told me that the only nafkamina, the only case where avudim pose some kind of, let's say, chumrah or problem is regarding tuma, not regarding muktzeh. But according to you, you want to differentiate between balabais and uman. According to you, liflog v'litni bedidon. The brisa should have stayed. Why is the brisa running away to talk about tuma? You can differentiate within muktzeh itself. That's the classical question always. Liflog v'litni bedidon. You should make a mechlokes, a chiluk within the same case and tell me as follows. This is what the brisa should be saying. The medva mamurim, you can carry even the me'ubad ones, b'shabalabais, the one of the balabais. Aval b'shal uman loy, the one of the uman, you shouldn't be allowed to carry it around, right? Hear what I'm saying? Again, let's summarize the question. If you are telling me that the oyers of the uman, if you're attacking Rabbi Yossi, and you want to tell me that the brisa would tell you that really the oyers of the uman are kept to the side, and when the brisa says, carry, do whatever you want with the oros on Shabbos, you only meant balabais, right? If so, why did we run away to tuma? When we differentiate between me'ubad and eino me'ubad, which seems to be the Indian here, is there a difference, halachic difference between me'ubad or not? Why did you start talking about tuma? You should differentiate within muktzeh. As you started speaking about muktzeh, why are you running away to a different topic all of a sudden? You should say within muktzeh me'ubad. Me'ubad is okay for balabais to care, but not for the uman. And we didn't say that. We ran away to talk about who? About the tuma. Mashma, that really uman is like balabais, that he does carry them and he doesn't care. And says the Gemara, no. Loi. Kula answers the Gemara, balabais kamairi. Kula balabais kamairi, which means the reason why we did not talk about uman and we prefer to talk about tuma, simple, says the Gemara. This entire brisa from beginning to end, from my point of view of this man, the Omar, only spoke about balbais, which means it's so clear to me. You're talking to me in your own language. To me, clearly an uman is different to balabais. Of course, an uman would not allow the schoiro of the leather to be carried around like that. No, not even a question. And therefore, the title of the Mishnah is not me'ubad or not, is how does Ba al-Habais treat his leathers? Yeah, halachically. Yeah, guide to the balabais that has pieces of leather. Only in balabais. So we're not going anywhere. We're talking now. If you are a balabais, then whether me'ubad or not, you carry it on Shabbos. It's not muktzeh. Balabais, you're not makpid on the kids to take it as their blankie, whatever you want. Mashenken by tuma, then we do differentiate and we say there's a difference between non-prepared, unfinished, which is not a kli, and a ready one that's a kli. Why? That's not called running away to a different topic. This is the topic. The topic is balabais. To talk about an uman would be considered running away to another issue. He's answering the same thing, the other direction. And therefore this brisa is not yet resolved. But the brisa can be read both ways. Answers the Gemara, at the end of the day, we finish off with the clear maskana, ketanoi. It's really a clear machlokes tanoim. Oiros shabalabais metaltelin oison, v'shul uman ein metaltelin oison. So we do have such an opinion as we were trying to promote all the time. Yes, there's clearly an opinion of Tanakama that the oros of the uman, he is particular, He would not let his kids start sleeping, with a top of or under the uros because it's a schora. Don't carry it on Shabbos. Oh, Rabbi Yossi. Rabbi Yossi, anybody? Same Rabbi Yossi. That's a Maiserav. Very good. Rabbi Yossi himself holds that an Uman would not, Rabbi Yossi speaks out of, his own experience. Rabbi Yossi, the Tana, right, quoted by his son, he was a Shalcha. He was a person dealing with leather. He was a leather man. He says, no, I know for sure that even the one of the Uman, not on Balabais, we don't care so much about it, and without the Noisan. You want the fan on? You okay? Yeah. Weiter. The Seder. Okay, so it's a machloikes, and I think halacha here is like Rabbi Yossi. I'm not sure. I didn't have time yet today to check the halacha. Now we're coming to one of those major gemaras for the entire Masechet Shabbos. What we're going to see now is giving us a good introduction for the whole concept of 39 malachas. So now, Hadur Yasvi v'kamibai lehu. The Rabbi Yonason and the other Rabbi Yonason were again sitting together another time, and they had the following question: Haditnan. When we learned to the Mishnah, Ovis malachas arboim choser achas. We know that there are 39 Ovis malachas. What does it mean an Av as opposed to a Tolda? So there are many, many different opinions of Rishonim. Let's go for the easy one, which you learn in school, which is true according to some Rishonim. According to the Ramach, Moshe Cohen, and according to one more Rishon, not many, the malachas that took place in the Mishkan are called Av, and the other malachas that are similar to them, who are not in the Mishkan, they're called the Tolda. They're a derivative of that. And there are 39 Ovis malachas on Shabbos. Who cares about 39 or 51? Who cares? Because 39 is the maximum amount of chotois you can bring for one Shabbos. If a person made all the mistakes possible in the world regarding Shabbos, he really got his bang on the head and he forgot that this and this and that is also, or very not knowledgeable. So the max amount of chotois is 39, not more. That's a difference. Like in other words, if you did many, many things to do with bishul, you did cooking, frying, sauteing, deep frying, all these things my wife says, and I don't understand what she's saying yet. All the different types of cooking, they all told us of a vashel, you have one chat. But if you did bishul and boirer, you have two chatois. Because already two sections, two families, right? So that's 39 ovis. And the question of the Gemara is, who told you that there are 40 keneged me? Keneged me means, what are these 39 malachas corresponding to? How did it come up with 39 ovis? The obvious question is, because we all learned in school or in yeshiva the what? Well, of course, whatever they did in the Mishkan is what? Is an Av Melacha. So in the Mishkan, they did 39 things. So we came up with 39. I don't have, not reading Tosfos inside because we're seriously behind time. But Tosfos is saying, no. That's again a childhood dream, what you learned. It's not true. Which means, basically, for example, there are 3 Ovis Melacha that took place in the Mishkan. Zoirer, Boirer umeraked. Zoirer is winnowing, whatever, to separate by the wind. Boirer is boirer, we'll go crazy at the Shabbos table. Boirer. And meraked is sifting. By logic, if you learn Hilchos Shabbos, which you will, they really all belong in one family. By logic, they're all derivatives of, So if you go by simple logic, you should have 37 malachas. Yes. So how did you come up with 39? And the same goes for others. It could be more or less. I'm just giving you the shorter version. So you can't just say, whatever they did in the Mishkan, that's what you're not allowed to do. Well, there are only 37 types of things they did. In other words, in the Mishkan, let's say they fried and they cooked. Let's say we don't consider that as 2 things. Yeah, no problem. Right? So how come? So how did you come with 39? So now answers the Gemara. Corresponding to the malachas of the Mishkan. Excuse me, what does that mean now? Keneged avodas Mishkan means as follows. Meaning, any malacha that they actually did in the Mishkan, this is something we'll see again and again, and also in other Masechtas, Zoire, Boirer, Umeraked, if in the Mishkan they only did Boirer, you're right. Then Zoire and Meraked would be its told us. Zoire, Boirer, and Meraked were lucky enough that they really did it in the Mishkan. Mimela, they became obvious. So it's true what we said before. And Achinami, if in the Mishkan they would do a baking and deep frying, then deep frying would be an Av. But they didn't. In other words, because these things really happen in the Mishkan, the lucky ones happen to really be Avos. Ice, 2 of them are similar. Fine. But because they happen in the Mishkan, that alone is enough of a reason to label them as avos. And if I did zoire, boirer, umeraked by mistake, I'll bring 3 shep salach to Beis Hamikdash and not just one. Why? Because they happen in the Mishkan. That gives them chashivus. So this was good and right according to this opinion. Amel Rabbi Yonasan bar Elazar, again Rabbi Yonasan bar Elazar is intervening and saying no. Kach Amar Rabbi Shimon Rabbi Yosef ben Lakunya, keneged melacha melachta umeleches shebatorah abayim chaser achas. If you count the amount of times that it says in the Torah all over the 5 books of Moses, the words melacha, melachta, meleches, you'll come up with what? With 39. So we think right now. By the way, the Ritva says over here, it says many times melacha in Bereshis, but it says that we don't count because that's Hashem's melacha. We're talking about humans, not about Hashem. And whenever it says meleches avoida, we don't count. Bekitzer, if you count melach toy meleches alone, you come out with, let's say, 39. By the way, did you notice it says 40 minus 1? But why talk like that? That's another question. Okay, but right now, what are we saying? Because, in other what's the basic answer here before we continue? Explains the Ritva. I'm again going with the Ritva here, not with Tosfos. It says as follows: Enochinami, we are asking the same question in the Mishkan. They only had 37, so to speak. Why do you call them each one an Av? This answer says no, not because they happen in the Mishkan. Of course, we generally follow the Malachos of Mishkan, but how did it come with 39, not 37? That answer, is because Melachta, Meleches is mentioned 39 times in the Torah. It's a combination of the two. Meaning, of course, we follow in general the Malachos of Mishkan, but I could divide the Malachos Mishkan to 37. Between you and me, some opinions say in Dafa in Hamud Beis 41. It could be more. We play around with which Malacha in the Mishkan gets which and which one doesn't. How do we know 39? Because it's not because they happen to be in the Mishkan and not at all, because it says Melachta, Meleches 39 times. Now comes the Gemara with the question. By Rav Yosef. Comes Rav Yosef with the question. It says about Yosef HaTzadik, we all know, Vayamayin, Vayova Bais Elasus Melachtoi. Yosef HaTzadik came home to Potiphar's wife, actually, to do his melacha. Miminyanahu or loy? Is that word melachtoi? Is it part of the 39 or isn't it? Or is he really questioning, do we really only have 39? Maybe melachto is an extra one. Amar Abaye, what's your problem? You're asking us if you have 40 or 39, open a Sefer Torah and count how many times it says melachta. Don't bother us. And as we said in Kiddushin, that's a Gemara in Kiddushin Daf Lamed, which I learned recently. The Gemara there says, which word in the Torah is the middle word, which letter is the middle letter. It says Gochoin, Lamed, Kitzer. The Gemara over there asks the question, when you count the Torah and you're telling me what's the middle letter or the middle word in the Torah, does that word belong to the first half or the second half of the Torah? So the Gemara answers, okay, bring a Sefer Torah and count it. Same thing over here. Says the Gemara, no. No. My question is much deeper than that. Mishum dechtiv, it says, and in other words, so let me just introduce to you the shock of the system. Really, it says in the Torah 40 times malachta malacha, not 39. The question is, musical chairs, which malachta is not counted as one of the 39? Hence, 40 minus 1. That's what the Mishnah says it that way. According to one of it, there are 12 answers to that question. Basically, or maybe 8. There are a lot of answers. Basically, 40 minus 1, it says 40 times in the Torah Malachtoi. One of them has to give up by not being called real Malacha. And now the Gemara is going to explain. My question is as follows, says Rabbi Yosef. Mishum dechtiv, it says when they finished the campaign, the project of bringing tzedakah nedovo to the Mishkan, by the Truma, it says there, v'hamelacha hoisadayim. Melacha hoisadayim, right? Miminyonahu. In other words, the words melacha hoisadayim, the melacha was enough, could be interpreted one of two ways. Either melacha means melacha as work, they worked, they actually worked, and that work was enough, was done. Or maybe melacha means just a fundraising. To fundraise and bring tzedakah is not called melacha. We all know the melacha in the Torah is physical act that has a result. Physical, to cook, to write, to erase, So maybe melacha isadayim means what? Real melacha, miminyona. And the Torah means over there that they really worked physically. And then, if this is in, then another melacha has to be out. What's the other melacha that's out? then by Yosef HaTzadik, the malacha there doesn't mean malacha. Get it? Because what does it mean malacha? We all know. That opinion says what? That he didn't come to do any work. He came to sin with her. That's not called malacha. It's called avera. So the one of the Mishkan is called real malacha. Yosef HaTzadik is called giving up to Yetzer Hara at the beginning. Or Dilma, or maybe maybe by Yosef HaTzadik, when he came to do work, it means work. Rashi says, leave the Ksivri Cheshbonaisov. He went home to do accounts, open the computer, Excel sheets, filter the internet, tzaddik, right? He came to do the work. That's real work. We're worked right, So that is included in the malachas, real malachas. Then who has to give up the other malacha? Malachos adayim of Bnei Sol in the Mishkan. Hachikomer. That's what it means. The shlim le'avidasa, that they really finished the work, the physical work of the Mishkan, and not just bringing the money. Teku. So really a teku. We don't know which one of the. There are 40 malachos. One of them is not in the list, either Yosef HaTzadik or malachos adayim of the Mishkan. Okay. 2 more minutes, to finish the Amun. Good. Tanya, command the Omar keneged avodas Mishkan. Now we're going to prove the opinion, to bring a proof to back the opinion that says that the reason we have 39 malachos is corresponding to the fact that there were 39 actions done in the Mishkan. The Tanya says in the Brisa, "In chayavin ela al malacha shekayat ba'isa b'Mishkan." He only chayav in malacha if that kind of malacha took place in the Mishkan, which means something very, very interesting. You could, in theory, have something that's constructive, a malacha, and it's not chayav and Shabbos, right? Because it didn't happen in the Mishkan. Let's say if there was such a thing, it wouldn't be considered malacha. Maybe the Rabbanon. Actually, I have an example. Maybe I'll tell you at the end. Now, for example, hem zohu v'atem lo tizru. They planted seeds. You're not allowed to plant. Did they plant seeds in the midbar? How can they plant in the midbar? So Taisa says in Chulin 2 things. Either they miraculously managed to sow in the midbar, and it grew, or they brought it from Mitzrayim. So although they didn't do it right there and then, but somebody had to sow it for the samimonim, right? For the colors, for the dyes. They had these flowers for the dyes. Hem zav v'atem lo tizru. Hem kotzru v'atem lo tiktzru. They were reaping. You're not allowed to reap. Hem helos akoshim karka la'agolo. Now we're talking about Hoitzah and Echnasa, what we started the Masechta. They lifted and brought in the kroshim, the kroshim of the Mishkan, the planks, mikarka le'agola, from, what's a karka? Reshus Rabim, from the floor, from the ground, to the agola. The agolos that were donated by the Nisim, the Reshus HaYochid, they were 10 by 4 or more. The Gemara is going to discuss it later in the After Divav. They brought from Reshus Rabim to Reshus HaYochid. The atem lo technisum Reshus Rabim, Reshus HaYochid. Whatever they did, you're not allowed to do. You're not allowed to bring from Reshut Yachid to Yochid. When they then, the next stop in the midbar, they now took off, they now removed and alighted the kroshim from the agola to the karka, from Yochid to Rabim. You can take out Yochid to Rabim. Do you remember the very first year? We said, why do we have to be so detailed with Tzor Nechnasa? Because it says the malacha grua. Oitzah is the malacha that is not constructive. You're not changing the object. It's just moving location. That's why you always are very particular in each and every detail of Oitzah to prove that all aspects of Oitzah are also. Oitzah is like an inferior. He's like the bad kid in class, needs special attention. And so basically you always have to know everything about Oitzah. Now they sometimes moved. There were 2 agolas. There are 4 agolas. Each one in a row, each one behind the other, 2 and 2, one behind the other. They would take out the kroshim from one cart to the other cart. But you're not allowed to take stuff from Reshus Yochid to Reshus Yochid. Frag the Gemara, what? Reshus Yochid to Reshus Yochid, Ma'aka Ovid, What did you do when you moved from Yochid to Yochid? That's not Osir. We never found such an Isser in the Torah from Yochid to Yochid. Both Abba and Rava say, we're not going there right now. We're going to learn it in the After Divav, but basically, if you move from Reshus HaYochid to Reshus HaYochid, something, and you moish it, you hand over, let's say from 2 porches. Imagine yourself, you have an open porch, right? And your friend next building or next door has another porch, and right below you, and it's low, within 10 tefachim, trying to play it safe, just a machloikes. So yochid to yochid over Rishus Harabim, that is also not allowed. If it's above 10, it's a machlokas. But if you are a low porch, yochid, I'm like in this box kind of porch, like you have them in Europe, yeah, to another porch next door, and I'm moving an object, whatever that is, a pot of cholent, from yochid to yochid with the same direction of Rishus HaYochid, not across the street. Because I'm doing exactly what I did in the Mishkan, that's also just like in the Mishkan. So this Brisa shows us, says the Ritva, the Brisa doesn't say anything about Melachto Malachtoi. The Brisa is telling us that Mishkan is teaching me two things. The general concept of whatever they did in the Mishkan is also. Secondly, the number 39, although that number, if I would logically take all, I'm repeating what I said, I'm not sure yet. If I would just take if I would make a chart of all the malachas in the Mishkan, and then make a logical conclusion, so how many types of things did it do? 37. Comes the Torah tells you, right, you're right. But because those two could have been really derivatives of the other one, but because they happened in the Mishkan, that alone makes them be chashuv as an av. As the Gemara says, alone called the havi b'mishkan chashiva is an av. The other opinion says, no, I would have had 37, but the Torah is hinting to me, telling me, I am saying the word malacha 39 times to tell you that when you count the Mishkan, you should really count 39. And then you come up with the Zohar and Dora Merakid. That's how the Ritva explains the second opinion. See there? So now we got a big Yesod in Shabbos. Nafkamina for Chatois. Beis HaMikdash comes. It hits Zohar and Dora the same Shabbos Merakid, not just one Chatois, three Chatois. Three Shepsalach to Beis HaMikdash, tie them all with a string and bring them along. Okay. Atzlach Bracha. We saw in Daf Yudan a few days, right? So Shimon ben Elisha wrote, because I tilted the candle by mistake, I'll have to bring a Chatas when Beis HaMikdash. We just want Beis HaMikdash already, with or without Chatas. Atzlach Bracha, Guten Shabbos. See you again in the last page of the Omud. In the last Omud of the Perek. The last Omud of the Perek is what we're going to do on Sunday. Then we have a fascinating Perek by Meh Behema about Yitzor on Shabbos, how to go out with the animal on Shabbos. Interesting. At the end of the parak, we're going to see a lot of things about the sins of the fathers in the Chumash. Very interesting stuff. Atzlacha Bracha. Thank you very, very much. A good night. Kol hakavod for coming that later night. May you all have Atzlacha, and thank you to Tzvi Rosen. Good Shabbos, Tzvi. Good Shabbos. Thank you very much. Kol tu. Thank you for the chair.